Hello and welcome, it's Pamela here. I hope you're all having a great weekend, and it's something a little bit different from me today. Just to let my regular subscribers know, I will be back with an art journal tutorial in the next few days, but today I wanted to show you my process for setting up my bullet journal. If you've never heard of bullet journaling, it's a great way of staying organised and focused on your goals, as well as documenting your everyday life. I've been bullet journaling for around the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm really hoping that by sharing this video, I will inspire more people to try it. At the beginning, I showed the supplies I'll be using, and I'll also link them in the description box below if you want to try any of those for yourself. But you really don't need a lot to get started. Even a simple notepad and pen will suffice. I really want to set my bullet journal up quite quickly, so I'm doing pretty simple pages. I'll just be using the same colours and doing a simple quick doodle throughout. You can of course be far more creative in your bullet journal, or you can go for even more of a minimalistic approach. So to explain a bit more about what a bullet journal or a bujo is, I kind of think of it as a diary, your journal and all of your to-do lists all in one place. It's normally broken down into sections, which are your collections, which will include your trackers, which you'll see me setting up today. And then there are other sections which will include your monthly spreads, also weekly spreads, and if you have a particularly busy day, you can also add daily spreads. These I won't be showing today, but you can always look at my Instagram account where I've posted some of my monthly and weekly spreads. There are also so many resources online, on Pinterest. There are many blogs about bullet journaling. So if you'd like to look into it further, I would definitely say check those out. So to go over what I'm actually doing in the video, on the inside cover of the journal, you just saw me adding my name and a start date of the journal. So I'm starting in April 2021, but as the pages are blank, I don't know when I'll be finishing, so I'll put the end date once the book's completed, and that will help to keep all my journals categorized. And that for me, and I think most other people, is the real beauty of bullet journaling. Because the pages aren't dated and you add your own, you can skip days, weeks, or even months. And if you miss those sections, you just turn a page and start afresh whenever you're ready. Also, if you've really got a lot to do on certain days, you could take up extra pages writing down your notes or your to-do list, your tasks that you have to do. If you want extra journaling space on specific days, then you just use those pages as you feel free. The page you see me working on right now contains my key, and these are just signifiers that you'll put next to your task or events. They just kind of signify what each little piece of writing that you've got on the page, I guess, is about. So if it's a task, you would put a square once you've completed that task. I personally put a tick. If I don't complete on a certain date or a certain week, I will put an arrow to show that it's been migrated to another date. If the task is cancelled, I just put a cross through it. And so that it stands out more, you can also use a triangle for an event. This just kind of helps to keep things in order a bit. Although you really don't have to use a key at all, you'll find it does seem a bit overwhelming at first. But yeah, you do really quickly get used to it. And to be honest, I don't really need to write my key down at all right now. I just think it takes a nice space up on that extra page. The page I'm working on right now is just a simple quote page to welcome me into the journal, and it reads, "Happiness blooms from within." A lot of people would put like welcome 2021 or something like that in their cover page, but as I've already put the day next to my name, I really don't think it's necessary, and I just want something nice and positive to welcome me into my journal, I guess. So at this point, I will be the first person to admit I am not the best at hand lettering. I'm so out of practice with it, but that really is one of my big goals, is to practice more on my hand lettering, and yet try to improve upon it. And this is actually one of my big goals of 2021. So, I mean, I'm keeping it in. It's still, you can read it. It still brightens up my page a bit. So I'm happy about that. But yeah, I'm kind of just, keeping it in so I can see at the end of the book. I really want to push myself to practice more. And yeah, I'm hoping by the end of the journal, I will see hopefully big improvements. Because Corona happened and not a lot's been happening in the last year, aside from the fact that I also got really distracted by my paper crafting and art journaling, I haven't actually kept a bullet journal really for the last year, which is why I'm starting a new one up today. So yeah, it's funny, you really do get out of practice quite quickly. So yeah, if you do hand letter, please try to keep your practice regular, unlike me. Otherwise you will find you'll probably go downhill quite quickly. But as I said, that is a major goal of mine this year, and I might not share any more tutorials or process videos of the bullet journal on YouTube itself. I'm really not sure. Like, I hope you guys will let me know if you found it useful, and then maybe I'll share monthly spreads, but I'm definitely sharing them on Instagram, so that's quite an incentive for me to try to get better, I guess. On that point, I just want to say as well, no matter how good you are or bad you are at the doodling and the hand lettering, it really doesn't affect the functionality of your bullet journal at all. And as I said before, you can really go for a minimalistic approach instead. The main point is that you've got somewhere to document what you need to. So I've just finished off that quote by adding a simple reef design around it, which I penciled in at first. I highly recommend doing that. So you've got your layout before you put pen to paper. And moving on to the next page, I'm now going to add an index. This is really simple, but for me, it's one of the most important parts of the bullet journal. You'll number your pages as you go along, or you might have a bullet journal where the pages are already numbered. I quite like them unnumbered, but whichever way you have, or whichever one you have even, you will kind of need somewhere at the beginning which you can refer to just find what you're looking for. So you might want to look back on the month of July, so go to your index and you can easily find where that starts from. Or more specifically, you might have a collection that you want to find easily, so that will be in your index too. With the collections, you'll normally start at the beginning, but if you've got extra ones that you want to add later in the year, you could put them anywhere. Like I keep wanting to do, and I haven't actually ever done it yet, but I have a collection of cake cookbooks and I'm trying to downsize a bit. So one thing I've always wanted to do is take out some of my favorite recipes and just kind of collate them in my bullet journal so I can gift or, just donate those books to a charity shop. So I always want to create a collection where I've just got all those recipes together. I don't have time to do it at the beginning of this journal. So it may be that if I get a chance, I'll do it later on. And that could come between the months of August and September, for example. So yeah, for me to quickly find out where that section would be, I'd have it in the index. And that's going to be different for everyone. I mean, you might be planning a trip away and you've got a checklist which you can't add at the beginning any longer because you've got no space. So you just pop that in anywhere in the book and just number the page and put that in the index. It might be that you've got a page for doodling that you want to refer back to, so you put that in the index. It might be that you've been given information on exercises to do by your physio, so you want to put that in your index just so you can easily find it. But yeah, as I said, that's going to be different for everyone, and that is one of the real main highlights of having a bullet journal is that the pages aren't dated. You really can put whatever is important to you at the time. I really hope I've explained that well enough. But yeah, as I said, there are loads of resources online if you want to do further reading or look up about it. So moving over to the next page, I'm now working on my grid spacing cheat sheet, which I've never added to a bullet journal before, and I'm hoping it does come in handy as it was quite a bit of work. But it's a quick and easy reference guide for headers and your boxes that you might create mainly. If you wanted to have 3 headers, for example, at the top of your page, you can quickly refer and see that that would take up 7 boxes per header, rather than having to count each box that's on the page or count all of your dots and kind of calculate how many you'll need. I'm just finishing off this page by putting another one of those quick flower doodles in the corner just to fill out that space. And if you do want to have a closer look at this page to make it easier if you're creating your own, as I said, I will put this on Instagram. As you can see on the opposite page, I've also done the grid spacing, but for my boxes going down. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I've probably not explained this page too well, but yeah. And I'm just going in here for a bit of a closer look, so hopefully it does make sense. So on the next page, I'm really getting started on the bullet journal proper, and I am creating my year at a glance, also known as a future log. As there are 9 months left in the year and I'm starting from April, I'm putting 6 months over these 2 pages, and then I'll have the remaining 3 months over on the next page. This really is quite a time-consuming page to set up, but it really is necessary. As your bullet journal isn't dated, if you get an appointment or an event happening like a few months in the future, you can make a note of it here, as the likelihood is you won't already have your monthly spreads or your weekly spreads set out at that point. It's also a good place to note down birthdays or other important holidays. And even though it took me a little while to set up, just because I'm adding all the dates of the month in, I really do like the way this page turned out. I just simply put more of those doodles along the top under the boxes that I'll be adding the names of the months to, and I think it turned out really pretty overall. As always, I've penciled the design in first, which I definitely recommend. And you see me just adding the same colours to it. I'm using the lighter colours on this page for my boxes, and then I'm colouring the flowers in with that darker pink, and I'm just add in a bit of the green with on the leaves even. And you'll see that those boxes underneath are where I put the days of each month. And I referred to my phone for these just to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. I'm numbering like the first day of the month and the last day of the month. And I'm also numbering for every Sunday just to make sure I'm on track. And I don't think I made any mistakes, touch wood. I definitely recommend that you mark your days in pencil first, as it really is quite tedious if you put one of the wrong dates under the wrong day. So now my future log has been set up. I'm moving on to the next page where I will record my monthly highlights. And I'm just simply adding 9 boxes, one for each month, and I'll record, as the title suggests, just the highlight of the month there. So I've got somewhere to look back on, like the main thing that happened that month. I was going to title it monthly favorites, but I thought highlights were a better word, and it just kind of reminds us to be grateful for what's happened. Sometimes I think we think that, life's boring and not a lot has happened, but when you kind of sit down and fill your highlights out, look back on it, then you're just reminded to be grateful for all of the good things. So my next page is a really quick and easy one to set up, and it's just a place where I can note any inspirational quotes that I've heard. Especially if we're having a bad day or a down day, it's nice to have a place where you can go to and read some of those quotes and just gain a bit of strength from them, really. And I'm just putting the words inspirational quotes into a speech bubble, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that pink just to tie it in with the rest of the pages. And so this only takes a few minutes to set up, but I think it's just a really nice thing to have mixed in your bullet journal. And if you wanted to, you could have a double spread for those, or you could add another page of them further in. Now this page I'm just starting on is for my word of the year, and I'm choosing the word focus, which is important to me this year. I really want to focus on my goals, the things that I want to achieve this year. And I have to admit that I am someone that is a bit of a procrastinator, and I'm guilty of being easily distracted. So putting that word down on paper, whatever word you would choose, and there's lots of inspiration online for words of the year as well. Like some people would choose success, self-love, self-care, whatever thing that you kind of like your overriding kind of theme for the year, I guess. Once you put it onto paper, you're kind of always reminded of it. If you not so much as backtrack, but if you kind of don't feel like you're doing what you set out to do for the year, this page kind of reminds you to get back on track with it. And you might see that I've penciled in the words why, what, and outcome. I'll fill those in later, but they are basically a place for me to record like why I've chosen that word, what it is I need to focus on, how I'm going to like implement it, and what the outcome will be. So yeah, just to serve as a reminder of why that is my kind of word of the year and to keep me motivated. So now I'm moving on to one of my favorite spreads in a bullet journal, and it's where I will record my goals for this year. And I've divided it into 4 sections just to add a bit of interest. I've kind of outlined them with reefs, and I'm putting this quote in the middle that reads, "You are never too old to set a new goal or dream a new dream." I really like the way this page turns out. I think it's simple but really pretty. But for me, the main point of this page or this spread is because I find it really motivating. I've set it into 4 categories, which are health, self, wealth, and creativity. You'll see that the creativity takes up the largest space, and I don't really have any health issues, so that will take up a smaller space. But for example, in the health one, is just kind of reminding me to do my stretches, maybe walk more. Myself, that would be things like I want to probably move this year to a new home, so it kind of motivates me. I can put notes in there of what I need to do to achieve those goals. Wealth will be just like, maybe like putting my savings goal in there, and maybe if I want to look for a new job, I'll kind of just put that in there as well to maybe update my CV or resume. And then creativity is what I want to achieve with like my YouTube channel and projects that I want to do. But all those different goals are all set down on a page. I don't like to make it anything that's too unrealistic, as I'm a person, I really like ticking my things off. It kind of motivates me to get on with them. So I don't want anything that's really unachievable. But yeah, I do find these spreads really always motivate me. So for sure, it's definitely one I have to add into every bullet journal. And if you are doing a bullet journal yourself, I really hope you do include one too. As you can see, I'm still pushing along with the brush lettering, and that just reminds me that that really needs to be a creativity goal. And I'll put a note in, like I've got loads of ideas going around in my head, but I haven't really sat down and kind of broken up how I'll achieve those goals. But it might be just like do 5 half-hour sessions in a brush lettering workbook that I've got, like 5 times a week. But I really think like breaking down those goals helps you to achieve them. If your main goal this year would be like to increase your self-love, it might just be to take time in your in the self category, to take time, make time for yourself, even meditate a certain amount of times per week, but just whatever is achievable to you and kind of what your focus is on. So once I finish the letter in here and rub out my pencil lines, this page is done and it's onto another really simple one, which is just a brain dump. Basically, any kind of ideas that are taking up brain space, I guess, you can just put a note of here if they don't really fit into any categories already. And just sometimes it really helps just to kind of get those kind of unformed ideas down on a piece of paper, something that you kind of want to jot down, like an idea that you need to look into further. So yeah, that is just my brain dump page. And on the next page here, I'm working on monthly theme ideas. So I've just got 9 boxes, one for each month of the year, and I will put in whatever I think my theme might be for the bullet journal, just as a way of decorating. So if I have any ideas in advance, I can just fill them in here, maybe work on doodles in advance, look up quotes that I want to include in advance. And I wanted to show you guys the mistake I made here. So I could have just maybe pulled this page out, but it's not something I wanted to do. I could have flipped over, but I wanted to leave my mistake in just to show you how easily they happen if you kind of lose your concentration for a moment. But underneath the September box, I kind of got my lines wrong, and I joined up December to September. But you will have just seen that I kind of fixed the box how it should be, and I'm going to just go over with some Tipp-Ex, or I think around the world they call it whiteout. But yeah, I'm just simply Tipp-Exing that extra little line out. If you do make a kind of major mistake, or something you're really not happy with, that little line and a piece of Tipp-Ex on top of it really doesn't bother me, and I wasn't going to just start this page again from scratch just because of it. But if you have something that you think is really unsightly on one of your pages, you could just do something else on another piece of paper and just glue that into your book. So yeah, if you do make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. It's easily remedied. So now, as you can see, I'm on to the next spread, which will be my savings tracker and the wish list that I'm writing out now. And this is just a list for me to make a note of what I want to buy or save up for over the course of the remainder of this year. The savings tracker is another thing that I really find motivational. You'll see that the way I'm going to do it is by using those same flower doodles, and each petal I won't colour in now. I will colour in as I put away a certain amount of money. So that could be £10 or £20, £50. I haven't quite decided on my budget yet. But as I put away each amount, I'll colour each petal in. I'm just colouring the leaves in now just to add a bit of interest to the page. But as you're saving, as you see those petals or whatever you use, in the past I had a kind of Serengeti themed bullet journal, and I was filling in one of those trees that you see on the plains. I can't remember the name now. I think acacia tree. I really don't know what they're called, but I was filling each kind of segment of the tree in. I've had a palm tree before, and every time I saved a certain amount, I filled in one of the leaves. I've had a saving snake before, which was a really long snake, and every time I put a certain amount away, I would fill in one of the segments. So yeah, as you see each part being filled in, it kind of motivates you to continue, and it's a good visual way to see that you are actually doing what you set out to do. So if you do have savings goals, I would definitely recommend including that page in your bullet journal as well. The next page that I'm working on now is kind of a similar layout to the future log, just why I'm putting the doodles at the top with the header here. But this is actually my reading tracker, and I'll just record here the title of the book that I'm reading, the author, and any notes that I've got. And my reading tracker does look a bit different to any others that you'll probably see online, because I like to turn my book around. I'm quite a prolific reader, and this is the best way I found for me to get as many books into one spread as I can without having to go onto additional pages. So that was the final page in setting up my bullet journal, and I'm just going to do a quick flip through now to recap everything that I've included. As I said earlier, I will include photos on Instagram if you want to have a closer look, and my Instagram account is just Pink Palm Tree Crafts, but I'll also include that in the description box below. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I'd love to know in the comments if you already bullet journal, or hopefully if you don't, you may be inspired to or look further into the concept. So that's it from me for now. I will be back very soon with an art journaling video, and normal service will be resumed. If you haven't already, why not consider subscribing for more papercraft and mixed media tutorials. If you're here for bullet journaling, I'd love it if you went ahead and checked out the rest of my channel for loads more creative ideas. But just to say thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.